This is the new GTI. There really is no need to call it the Volkswagen Golf GTI because, well, those three letters are more than enough. They don't just define a version or model. For 45 years, they have defined an entire category. And now the Mark 8 GTI is in New Zealand. When the GTI was introduced back in the mid-70s, the goal was to sell 5,000 of them. By the time the Mark 1 finished, they'd sold almost 500,000. I get to drive some incredible cars on a daily basis, but I have been counting down the days till the GTI arrived at Giltrap Volkswagen. And this is no new feeling for me. I still remember the first time I drove a GTI. It was a Mark II, around about 30 years ago. It was a 16-valve version, and a friend's stepdad owned it, and I somehow got given a chance to drive it around the Port Hills in Christchurch. I remember everything about it. It wasn't the most powerful car even then that I'd driven, but everything was just right. And that's been the way for the GTI since then. I guess that's the magic of the GTI. It's that perfect blend of herbs and spices that makes this the hatch that every other hot or sporting hatch is measured against. And other cars aren't just measured against the GTI, they try to emulate it. In fact, more than 40 different cars, 17 different brands have used that GTI badge. That's a pretty good tribute. It's fair to say though, this car still sets the standard. This is the GTI. In Mark 8, guys, there's plenty of sporting red and impressive LED treatments and a lot of grille. And that honeycomb look continues on the inside. That's where you'll find the same button-free design as the rest of the Golf family. And also the same rock-solid build quality and premium feel. And that's one of the Golf's strong points. It doesn't just look right, it feels right. And yes, it also drives right. I've probably been letting the side down a bit. I've been driving in comfort mode, and I've got to say, quite refined, but that's the case across the Golf range. But I'm going to select Sport, right, because it is a GTI. The figure's 245 horsepower now, that's 180 kilowatts. That's the same output as the old performance back version of the Mark 7. Now it'll hit 100 k's in 6.5 seconds. But the GTI isn't just about headline figures. There are cars that are faster, more powerful, more showy, but they're not GTIs. And that's the whole thing. It's the whole package, the way it delivers everything. Part of the fun of the GTI is the way it goes around corners, and a lot of that now is down to the locking front diff, which is standard across the GTI. That combines with variable steering, just 2.1 turns lock to lock, so that whole result is a really sporty feel. And that combines with a vehicle dynamics manager, and that links that clever locking front diff, all the stability, the other systems together to deliver that perfect drive. And as well as the electronic brain, there's also some clever mechanical work like the rear springs 15% stiffer. Well, the result of all that is a car that's genuinely sprightly, absolute fun to drive, chuck around, but also completely usable. All the torque's available from just 1600 RPM. You've got the 7-speed DSG gearbox to make sure you're always in the right gear. And you're always smiling. One thing it's hard to argue with is the value for money with a GTI. $61,490 they started at Giltrap Volkswagen. A lot of car, a lot of smiles for that price. Oh, that front diff is a lot of fun. Fantastic. They might say you can't be everything to everybody, but I reckon the GTI comes close. I mean, what other car, especially a sporty hatch, can be at home in a supermarket car park, or just as happy racing round on a track day, driving up to a swanky hotel to be valet parked, or going through a drive-through at a takeaway? It can be everything to everybody, but still an awful lot of fun. You see, that's the magic of the GTI. It's entirely classless, but also completely classy.